right, a little bit about myself. I'm probably the least known trapper here at this convention. I'm John Heitz from southwest Missouri. I say southwest Missouri, I'm 40 miles north of Joplin. And I live in a big, huge rural area. Our drainage ditches runs into Truman Lake, which in turn run into Lake the Ozarks. We have tons of beaver and otter in there. And my first otter I probably caught in 1980. And after that, I started kind of targeting them a little bit. We had a limit of 5. Future years, they upped it up to 20. And I've been lucky enough to have a trapping partner that's been with me for over 20 years. And it works out really good. What I miss, he catches, and vice versa. And we've caught tons of otter. The conservation agent come up in probably 07, first time he'd ever been to my house. And I told him on the phone I had 40 otter to check. He said, well, he said, I don't have enough tags. He said, I'm going to bring the Barton County game warden with me too. And what they was doing, they was catching their 20 otter, but the Kansas people was catching otter, and they didn't have a season, and they was bringing them over to Missouri, and their trapping buddies was selling them. And he pulled into my house, and he comes in my basement, and he said, there is nobody going to catch 40 otter, 2 guys. They're not going to do it. And they quizzed me for an hour and a half in my basement. Finally, I said, I got to go get me a drink. So I went upstairs and I told the wife, you better get some bail money ready because he's hauling me to jail. They're bound determined they're going to arrest me because they think some of these is illegal. So anyway, they went ahead, both of them checked them otter. And when he got done, he said, I want to start trapping with you. He said, I want to know how you're catching them otter. He said, not only will it help me catch otter, but it'll help me catch the trappers that's setting illegal. So he did. He started trapping with us. And 09, they took the limit off otter, and we ended up with a pretty substantial amount. We took 101 otter that year. We started trapping in January 5th. Ended the last of February, and we sold them otter for an average of $74 a piece, which was a good catch that year. Mm-hmm. To catch that many otter, my time started at 5:30 in the morning, and it didn't end till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I mean, it was brutal, and today I cannot do that. I don't long line for otter anymore for the simple fact it's a lot of work. To catch that many otter, you got to have a lot of variables working for you. You got to have the weather. You got to have a lot of time, and you got to have a lot of traps. The traps I use are Dukes, and I started buying these traps in the later 70s. You think, well, he ain't much of an otter trapper if you use the Duke traps. Well, if I was trapping otter today, I'd use Delisle's. And I'd only have about 3 dozen of them. Me and my buddies got 144 of these beaver and otter traps. And since we don't longline anymore, most of them don't get used. The problem with the 330 on a Duke, they get wobble in them. When you get a wobble, that's a lot of wobble in them, you're going to hip catch otter. And my theory is on catching a hip caught otter in a 330 is when that trap goes shut, their body is so big behind them, they're strong enough they can pull their head out of and that's how you hip catch them. If you take that and take you a chisel and right here where it comes to right here, bend that together, and you don't get that wobble, that's not much right there. That trap will fire really quick. The only reason I use a 330 on otter is because it plugs a bigger hole. My favorite trap is the 280. The 280 will kill an otter really fast, faster than a 330. if you'll notice, I've got these on here. These are cables. The cables are to prevent twist. They're on a swivel. And what that does, I've got these short ones on here. I prefer a 4-foot cable to tie that trap off. And when that otter beaver's caught, it swings them out of the way. And these will kink, and with that swivel, if you don't have that on there, and that's wired direct, they will bust that chain if they go to pivot on that. They will bust that chain. I've had them do it many times. Do you have anything sentimental you use on the trap line? I do. I built these in the late 70s, and I still use them today. I'm not into high dollar setters. They don't look like much, but I carry these with me all the time. I do a lot of dry land trapping. I think these probably killed about 165 possums last year. That's why they're bent. Okay, what I'm going to show you, my favorite on slide wires. I trap off a 4-wheeler or Can-Am. I don't carry rebar with me, them long rebar grounders. I just don't do that. It's not feasible to carry on a 4-wheeler or Can-Am, so I use cables. Cable slides, I like them better than I do the wire. And I'll use it, what I'll do is I'll stake that out on the edge right here. I'll dig me a flat spot on that bank, and I'll bury this. And what I want is a front foot catch on it. And I don't want that very long. I'll get that as close as I can. And when he comes down, this is tied to a stake out in the water, about 5 feet long. That stake's pounded into the dirt. And I like to have that. When I get pounding that stake down, I'll push that in the mud when I'm out there in about waist deep water. And I'll pull that back out and I'll measure that. And I want that tied about 10 inches above, like that, when it's fully pounded in. And what happens is when he comes to the end of that beaver or otter is going to pivot around and he's going to go underneath that chain. And then he'll probably loop to the top. He's caught right there. He don't go nowhere. I don't want that. I don't want him flopping around. And when I come back the next day, I don't want that stick pulled out on the bank where I've got to kill him. That's how I use that. The drown and slide. I like the TS-85 better than I do the 750 for the simple fact our mud we got up there, these are easier to get out if you have to in the mud. The round part on the MBs, if you get them caught over here on the side with the foot, you can't get them. It's just hard to get them out. And I like the TS-85s better. I've caught a lot of otter and a lot of beaver.
In the bottom.
What's that?
Jamming your stick at the end, making sure you're tied your.
Yep. When I get done, when I see that, I'll try to take a stick about 4 inches around, about 5 feet long, and I'll wade out. I'll fasten that there where I want that trap to be, on the bank, where I dug my hole out.
Then I'll wade out
there, and I'll take the end of that, and I'll push it down in the mud so far till it hits hard pan.
I'll pull it back out,
and it'll be marked with the mud, and I'll fasten that about 8 or 10 inches with a piece of wire. It just works better for me that way.
When I do that,
I don't just
that in.
pound
I
that
don't
in.
just shove
I don't
that
just
in.
shove that in. I literally take a trapping hammer out there and I beat that to
I
death.
want that solid.
I want that solid. I don't want it to move.
You don't ever have trouble with it chewing up the
Use
stick?
a beaver stick.
Use a beaver stick.
Nope, I've never had.
Nope, I've never had them do that.
Oh, they've already peeled all the bark.
I
Yep.
peel these off.
I peeled these off. I didn't go down and get any beaver sticks.
When I set my 330s.
When I set my 330s too, and I'll show you back here,
I always use a beaver.
I always use a beaver stick. You use a beaver, a green stick that's got bark on it, what they're gonna do, they're gonna come up there and they're gonna pull that out.
I had them do it to me.
I had them do it too many times. It's just easier to use a beaver stick and be done with it.
These here.
These here,
I'll use on a
I'll use on a
Otter toilet.
Otter toilet.
I also use these.
I also use these for my cats and coyotes.
The Bridger number 2.
The Bridger number 2, I've got them laminated.
Always use
The super stakes.
I
I don't like the rebar. I don't like carrying them around. These super stakes in our dirt up there hold super good.
That's just the way I do
That's
it.
just the way I do it.
If you've got an Otter toilet.
If you've got an Otter toilet right here,
They've got piles.
they got piles of stuff around that.
What I'll do with that.
What I'll do with that
Is I'll set a trap.
is I'll set a trap right like that.
I'll set another one.
I'll set another one right here,
And I'll take
and put a little bit of indentions in that. And I'll drop some Otter Lure Supreme in there. Minnesota Trapline makes it over here. It's one of the best Otter lures you can get. Darren Cheek makes an Otter lure too that's really good. It works great. I had a guy on Facebook here about 2 months ago said, what's the best Otter lure? And I replied on there, Otter Lure Supreme, and Darren Cheek's Otter lure. And another guy come on Facebook and he said, you can't lure otter. Well, I'm going to show you how here in a minute. It works great. I didn't respond to him. I just let him go. I don't get into them kind of matches. When you're otter and beaver lure or beaver setting,
That trail comes out.
that trail comes out of the water right there.
I don't walk down.
I don't walk down the path. Don't walk in that path. Walk around and stay off the path.
Another thing you notice.
I want them sticks.
I want them sticks down through there. I want them
crisscrossed on top.
That
That cures an otter or beaver from
crawling
crawling over that trap and firing it.
And if I have to.
And if I have to, I'll take a hammer and I'll drive them in as tight as I can get them.
You want that trap.
You want that trap solid
So it don't fall.
so it don't wobble.
That's about solid.
That's about as solid as you can get it.
Another thing I made.
The other thing I made
Carrying beaver,
on
my
carrying beaver, my hands are so gone, they're
Can't
gone
hardly
anymore. I can't hardly pack an otter or a beaver out.
It's just a little piece.
It's just a little old piece of pipe,
Double ferrule on it.
double ferrule on it,
With a little nut.
with a little nut
Pounded on the end of it.
pounded on the end of it.
Slides it over that.
Slide it over that back foot first, put it over their front foot,
Pack them
and you
out
can pack them out like a suitcase. This,
For an old man like
for an old man like me, this works great. Okay. Otter
And beaver.
and beaver.
I don't use that.
I don't use that much on
Beaver.
Beaver, but if I start using the Otter lure probably second, third week in January.
And the way I use that.
And the way I use that,
I'll come in here.
and right in the fork of this, I'll just put me a piece about the size of a pea.
What that does.
And what that does,
It
it gets that otter just going crazy.
And a male.
And a male,
What I'm after.
that's what I'm after most of the time is a big male. And
They just work that set.
they just work that set a lot
It'll
better.
call them in.
It'll call them in. I've called them up a creek bank that was 30 yards down over the creek. This stuff, I'm telling you, works. You can lure otter just like you can beaver. And the reason you can lure, and I didn't tell that guy,
If you're walking along.
if you're walking along the creek bank and you come upon an otter toilet,
And you look down there and there's
and
all
you look
kinds
down
of
there and there's all kinds of otter coming up that, how do they know that's there?
Because I go by scent.
Because they go by scent.
Therefore, you can lure.
Therefore,
an
you can
otter.
lure an otter.
It's just that easy.
It's just that easy.
Anybody have any questions?
Anybody
so
have
far?
any questions so far?
On your toilet set, are those two traps on slide water?
Nope, they're anchored
Nope,
down in
they're
the
anchored
dirt.
down into the dirt.
I've caught otter.
I've caught otter as far as
away.
5 miles away.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
off
it's
the
up
bank.
off-
Yeah, it's up off the top of the bank.
I've caught otter.
I've caught otter as much as 5 miles off the river.
And cats.
And cat set.
Nothing will eat an otter.
Nothing will eat an otter, hardly at all.
They don't have any predators.
They don't have any predators.
Not like a beaver.
Not like a beaver.
Beaver.
A beaver,
Everything eats beaver.
everything eats beaver meat.
That's what a lot of the coyotes.
That's what a lot of the coyote and the cat stuff's made out of.
You make an artificial
Can.
You can.
like that,
You can.
where you want it,
Yep.
put up a mound and then put that same mound in.
Yep. I prefer an otter toilet already there.
Right.
You know, they come up there and they're scat. I've seen as much otter toilet as you couldn't put in that 5-gallon bucket. They're just everywhere.
Have you ever caught a double like that?
I never have. I don't use that set much for the simple fact that when I'm running long lines, I don't like that otter caught in a trap all day long. Like I said, I run from daylight to dark. I don't want that otter at the end of my line where I'm running at dark and he's been caught the night before. There's nothing in this world that fights a trap worse than an otter does. They will absolutely fight a trap to death.
But if you had it close enough to the water, you could still run a slide wire to it.
Yeah, you can use that. You can use that slide wire and that TS85 just like that stick right there, and for otter and beaver.
But you can put that on the bank and just run your slide wire out.
Yep, you can.
Parents respond to your otter lure.
They will. Raccoons, possums, bobcats, coyotes. A lot of the coyote lures got otter glands in it. I started a YouTube channel about 3 weeks ago, and it's on this piece of paper. And if you want one, you can get one right there. I'm more into teaching people how to catch stuff anymore than what I was back in '09. I don't know. I just want to teach people how to trap. And I'm not the best trapper in the world, but I do catch a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of bobcat videos on there right now. If you follow me on Facebook, send me a friend request. I'll do what I can do to accept a friend request. But I've got a lot of stuff on my Facebook page too. I got 2 daughters, and both of them follow me during trapping season. One of them was a vet tech, and she don't like it. You guys got any questions at all?
Yeah, you put that claw lower on that, in the fork of that stick.
Yeah. I do. I put that in the fork of that stick.
You want it over the trail?
I want it over the trap, out in front of it, or behind it, either one. They're not going to leave that once they smell that until they get caught. Tall grass, I like to trap a lot in duck lakes. They're low and they plumb full of water, and they got a lot of tall grass in them. If I've got a set like that right there, what I'll do is I'll walk over there and I'll grab me a wad, 2 hands full of grass. I'll kind of twist them up. I'll put them in that spring and droop them over the top of that trap to camouflage it. That helps camouflage that trap, and they'll go in there a lot quicker. There is nothing worse than trying to catch a trap-shy beaver. I'd rather try to catch a coyote. They are smart. That's when I usually go to the TS-85 and the drown cable. Come on, guys, you gotta have some more questions for me.
How many uses do you get cable? 15 dozen?
If you keep them tight, and I stake them things just like piano wire, you'll get a lot of catches out of them. If you stake them loose, you're going to get 1 or 2, and that's it, because they won't slide down to the end of it. Like I said, I want that up about 8 to 10 inches. When he hits the end of that, he's going to go around that stick, and he's going to get caught. Chances are he's going to be right there. I don't use sacks like a lot of people do. We don't have rocks there where I live. It's all mud. It's mud banks. I've used cement blocks before and come back the next morning, and he had that pulled out on the bank, and he's sitting on top of it. So I even took a rock one time in a 10-foot aluminum boat. I don't know, it was that big around. I drilled me a hole in it, thought, I'm going to drown that beaver. Come back the next day, and he had it pulled up on the top. It just doesn't work for me. I had to kill him with a boat oar. Come on, guys.
Would rebar work in place of your wooden stick?
They will.
Just heavy and
I don't use rebar because, like I said, it's all mud there at home. I'd prefer to get a long stick like that and drive it even up the top. I'll use a stick.
Stick's great, yeah, and it's not heavy.
Yeah, it's already there. When I'm going down the trap line and I've come across the beaver house, I'll pick as many good straight sticks up, and I want when I use a stick out there in that water and I tie that drowning cable to it, I want it 3 inches big around, and I want it 5 foot long. The one up here at the top, I'll use one 3 foot long, and I'll pound it in until I've only got about 2 or 3 inches sticking out. And I want that thing as tight as I can possibly get it.
Could you show me how you took the slack out of that tree?
I got these all wired.
I got these all wired, so I'm not. What I do with that, I'll take it out on, I set that on a railroad iron like this, on a railroad iron, and a dull cold chisel, I'll hit that right there.
Straight down, man.
Yeah, and hammering straight down.
Okay.
This one's got a little bit of wobble in it, but it's not too bad.
A lot of them do it.
Like I said, I would use Belials anymore, but I didn't have the money to buy Belials when we was getting started in all these. If you had 144 Belials right now, you'd have a lot of money.
New truck.
A new truck. But the Dukes have been good for it. I've got Dukes that I've used since the last of the 70s. They're still a good trap.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with them.
how deep of waters would you need for the front to catch the otter?
I like to be waist deep. You don't need it that deep for a front foot catch, and that's why I try for is a front foot catch. I don't like a back foot catch. I want that beaver caught in the front foot so I can hold him down. If you catch him in the back foot, catch a big beaver.
You ever had any issues with them rolling and popping their arm off?
I haven't.
If you use a big enough draft, you can get your line up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of swivels, a lot of swivels.
A lot of swivels. I like the cable system
Yep.
on this a lot. I've literally had beaver and otter tied that directly to a tree root. I've had them literally break that chain, getting it. Then I started putting swivels on there, and then I started using 4 foot of these wire. Then not only, it helps get them out of the way. When I'm beaver trapping, I won't set up a lodge. I refuse to set a lodge up. That beaver swims out of there and he gets caught. Next one that comes out, oh, there's my brother. That's a good way to educate beaver. I always used to set up their feed holes. And that's something else too. I don't know how cold it gets down here, but Southwest Missouri, when it starts, I've got a cold front coming in. I want as many holes set up for otter as I can possibly get. I want to catch all the beaver out of there and leave them soak. When that cold front hits and that ice forms on top, them otters is looking for a place to be. And an old beaver hut's where they'll go. They're going to be there. And I'm telling you, that will up your catch a lot.
You use any of those H stands or anything to get that?
I do not use an H stand. I have never used an H stand in my life. I ain't got nothing against them. I just don't want to pack them. I can literally take them sticks and I can prop that trap up and keep it above where I want it. I had a duck lake up home, and it was really long, and it had dams cut on it in between it, and there was otter and beaver crossovers in that. And conservation agent and the landowner was with me that day, and we was driving along on that dike, and I looked over there, and that water was about 20 yards wide, and there was this tree that was laying straight across it. And I stopped and got off the four-wheeler, and I walked down there. And I walked out there, and that water was about this deep. And that tree was, I don't know, this big around. When I got to where I could find where they was going underneath that log, it was a dip, a U shape. I went back to the four-wheeler, got my conibear, and got me some long sticks. And it's hard setting a conibear in that deep of water. You could have used an 8-stand, but I didn't have one with me. But I set that there, and that agent, he thought, what in the world is he doing? Well, the next morning we come back, I looked out there, and there was this big old otter tail floating right underneath that log. There was nothing there but that log, and it was just a cupped out place where they went through there. And I look for places like that all the time. You don't need nothing but them 2 sticks holding that conibear upright. It takes a little bit of getting used to setting a conibear that deep, though, without an H-stand. You got to be careful. Don't get your foot in there.
Right.
You rest it on your foot, get your sticks ready to get it filled up in there.
Nope. What I'll do with that, I take that cable
And that longer,
and that longer stick
that's 3 or 4 foot.
that's 3 or 4 foot, 5 foot long.
What I'll do
What I'll do
is I'll put that stick
is I'll put
down in
that stick
water
down
like
in that
and
water
I'll
like that, and I'll
fish this down
fish
with that
this
wire.
down with that wire
like that, and I'll push
like
it
that,
over
and I'll push it over
like that.
like that.
Then I'll take that other stick.
Then I'll take that other stick and
I'll hit it.
I'll hit it,
And you can tell when you
and you
get
can
it in
tell
there.
when you get it in there.
You can hear it.
You can hear it
Rattle, even in the
rattle,
water.
even in the water. You can hear that rattle,
And I'll push it.
and I'll push it in.
H-stands are great.
H-stands are great, but when I'm trapping off a four-wheeler or Can-Am, I don't want that extra stuff with me. I just don't. I try to keep it as simple as I can.
Where do you put your triggers at?
I put mine all up and down. I put them on top. I've had a lot of people say they use them on the bottom to camouflage the trigger. I've straightened them triggers out and used horse weeds on them. Pushed them up on there and broke them off. Put them on there. Camouflage the trigger that way. I do a lot of deprivation work. I'm pretty lucky trapping with that conservation agent. He lets me do about anything I want. He'll call me up, tell me where to go, get them out of there. I set conifer bears on dry ground. I won't set them where they're dogs, but I try to keep it as simple as I can. We got a lot of damage up there with otters and stuff. The fur prices is down. Nobody's trapping. I think we caught somewhere between 30 and 40 otter last year. I didn't even go 16 miles from my house. And that's just while I was doing deprivation work on beaver and a few otter. We got a lot of otter. It takes a lot of otter to put up numbers. I don't flesh and dry any of my otters at all. You can call me lazy if you want to. The reason I don't have time. I'm a numbers guy. Catch a lot of beaver. I don't skin them either. I got a guy out of Olathe, Kansas. We got tons of freezers. Freeze them all up. Call him. He comes down the pickup. We sell them pickup load at a time on the carcass. And that's the way he wants them. I get a little bit more out of him because he'll pay me a little bit for the caster and the skulls. I sold some big beaver last year for $22 at the last season.
About me?
22. And he done told me this year they'd be about that same price. All of our beaver go to hatter markets. They make felt hats out of them. They're not quality beavers like they are in northern Minnesota, Canada. Any more questions? Guys, this has been my first demo.
Really?
Done good.
Yep.
First demo. All right.
Thank you all.